Hello, my name is Andrew Kurtz. Welcome to my pitch for Buried Blades. Buried Blades is a fantasy-themed turn-based strategy game where the player takes control of master swordsmen capable of wielding weapons of legendary power and must effectively utilize their unique abilities in effort to regain control of their lands. Buried Blades has two different perspectives, the mission selection screen and the in-mission view. The mission selection screen is a 2D top-down map of the Isles separated into 4 sections. Each section is a mission that the player can undertake, with the fourth being the final boss mission. Once in mission, the perspective shifts to a 3D isometric view. The player is presented with a level populated by obstacles, enemies, and overlaid with a grid. Players decide what missions they wish to undertake, with varying objectives from simple enemy elimination to rescuing an elder. They then assemble a team of swordsmasters and equip them as the player sees fit. Once in mission, the player strategically chooses each character's actions during their turn. There are 4 unique swordsmasters in Buried Blades: the high damage assassin, the well-armored knight, the ruthless mercenary, and the calculating fencer. Each has 5 different stats, being health, defense, which dictates damage taken, strength, or damage dealt, speed, and spirit, which functions similar to most other games' mana. In addition, each has 2 abilities, a standard attack and a more advanced ability, such as the fencer's riposte. It is the player's main objective to rid this land of the invaders and restore peace to the Isle. This can only be done by eliminating the invaders' leader on the 4th mission. Long-term goals include finding buried blades by completing missions in order to augment characters. Short-term goals include effectively using an ability and eliminating an enemy. When a mission begins, most of the time players will begin in stealth mode. When in this mode, characters take turns based on their speed stat, highest to lowest. This makes planning for attacks and ambushes simple, as turn order is easy to predict. Once combat has started, however, each character gains a time gauge. This time gauge is now what determines when it is a character's turn. A character's speed stat determines how quickly this gauge fills, and thus how rapidly and how often they can act in the heat of battle. Effectively choosing which swordsmaster to take on a particular mission can have a dramatic effect on how well that mission goes. The reason being that the invaders are using skills much like the swordsmasters. For example, a player might be dissuaded from taking the high damaging assassin on a mission against enemies that have riposte, which can turn that high damage back against the low health assassin. Besides team selection, players can equip the swordsmasters with legendary weapons known as buried blades. Buried blades grant passive augments to whichever swordsmaster wields them. These augments can open up new ways to play each swordsmaster and deal with certain missions. The effects of each blade varies greatly, from increased stats, lower ability cooldowns, to simply increased damage. There are 4 buried blades, each with 3 augments. However, only 2 can be active at a time. These are selected pre-mission. In the previous example, the assassin was a risky choice because the enemies in the mission have riposte. Suppose a player equips the Weeping Blade, which can reduce ability damage but adds bleed damage. Now the assassin is at less risk of having a high damage attack be reflected, and can instead deal with riposte enemies with damage over time. Buried Blades shares similarities to a few titles on the market. It is similar to XCOM in that both have pre-mission team selection, grid-based movement, and share an invasion theme. However, XCOM has an established turn order, a difficult random number generator, base management, and ranged weaponry, while Buried Blades does not. Buried Blades can also be compared to Darkest Dungeon for much the same reasons. However, Darkest Dungeon has a 2D perspective, a particularly unique combat system which utilizes a difficult RNG as well as base management. Some of the risks of Buried Blades include its scope. It may be a challenge to complete this title as described within the time allotted. This can be solved by simplifying character abilities and blade augments. There is also low programming experience amongst the team, which may make character ability implementation difficult, as well as the game needing quite a bit of artwork or switch to a less graphically intense perspective. I hope that you enjoyed my pitch on Buried Blades, and I can't wait to hear any feedback.